Representative Craig of Minnesota for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I want to address my question to Mr. Crowder here this morning, or I guess it is already afternoon. Thank you for bearing with us. It's been a long morning. Mr. Crowder, I come from a district in Minnesota that has access to a large metropolitan airport that flies to many regional hubs around the country. There's a misconception that the PFC is only helpful for large hub airports. Would an increase still help smaller hub airports that don't have the high traffic volumes that large hubs have? And can you discuss how the current hub and spoke system constrains regional air travel and how more gates in major hubs could help smaller communities?
Thank you, Congresswoman. The issue is how much smaller airports right now depend on the PFC, and for a number of different reasons. One is that net operating revenues, cash flows, are usually fairly low at smaller airports. It doesn't really support that much in what we call non-grant funded capital programs. As a result, smaller airports tend to have a significant reliance on airport improvement program funding, in which we've talked about that, is that because it's been flat and because of inflation, it doesn't buy as much. And the other issue is that most airports our size are at the 450 PFC for a reason. It's because they need that capacity. So going back to the reliance on that is that in order for them to provide that infrastructure for their community, on the reverse side, there's got to be PFC capacity for those larger airports, as I talked with Mr. Allred about, in terms of your access into the national air transportation system. And as we talk about, it's economic development for your community as well, because what people don't focus on enough is how important it is to be able to get people from out in the world to your community, ideally with one stop. Because if you can do that, you can unlock the economic development potential of your community so much more, especially in this global economy. So I think that access is critical, and it's just not access at the small airports, it's access for smaller communities at the larger connecting airports.
Thank you very much. Mrs. McGraw, I wanted to just direct the next one to you. One of the statutory uses for PFCs is for capacity projects to increase competition, unlike the AIP program. Can you tell us a little bit how the PFC has enabled airports to attract more service and provide customers more options, lower fares, et cetera?
As I mentioned, we've been able to grow our passenger base, our local passenger base, 97%, and increase competition. We were able to do that because we used PFCs to renovate certain gates that had been sitting dormant. When we were able to do that, our other carriers, other than our dominant carrier at the time, were able to expand and increase. Therefore, greater competition, lowering airfares, $255 per ticket.
Thank you so much. And then I'll finish out with Mr. Christie. Spirit Airlines is increasing competition in regions around the country. That's great, as Spirit seeks to continue expanding and creating new hub and spoke pathways. Would the PFC be helpful in your company's effort to serve more small communities?
Thank you, Congressman. No, our view is that that the PFC is actually, as I mentioned earlier, a bit regressive in our model. Our fares are at the absolute lowest in the industry, and so the PFC in some ways artificially shifts the burden to low fare paying customers. What probably is more efficient is a broader discussion around competition at broader airports and what's happened with consolidation and the use of the facilities at that airports, which is something that's much deeper than just a discussion around a PFC.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I yield the remainder of my time.
Thank you.